Hello everyone, and welcome to Lore Time with the Chibi Inquisitor. Tonight's video will be an introduction onto the species known as the Tao. The Tao are a young, humanoid and technologically advanced intelligent species, native to the eastern fringes of the Milky Way galaxy. They are fighting to expand their interstellar empire and extend a philosophical concept they call the greater good, Tao Ve in the Tao lexicon, to all the intelligent species of the galaxy. The Tao claim to be a peaceful species when possible, asking if others will join their cause voluntarily instead of fighting against them. However, in their peaceful overtures are refused, the Tao may decide to conquer a planet and add it to their growing interstellar empire for the greater good, searing the flesh from the bones of anyone who stands against their benign intentions. Tao society is divided into a number of castes, each responsible for managing a specific aspect of their society. The Tao's central motivating ideal is that everyone in their empire, regardless of their species of origin, will work for the collective betterment of everyone else, an almost mystical philosophy they call the greater good. The Tao are the central figures of the Tao Empire, an interstellar polity which is composed of several different intelligent species, primarily the crew of Peck and the Vespids of the world of Vespid, with the nomadic Nikasa. However, there are now several human Tao septs derived from conquered imperial humans, or humans who voluntarily joined the Tao Empire because they were impressed by the concept of the greater good. These people are known as Guvesa in the Tao lexicon, and they are considered amongst the most vile of traitors and heretics within the Imperium of Man. The Tao are a relatively young species. It has only been 6,000 Terran years since Imperial Inquisitors first noted that the Tao had only mastered the fire and the wheel, when they evolved rapidly over the past few millennia. Unlike other young intelligent races of the galaxy, the Tao have made remarkable leaps in technology, and now represent a real threat to the Imperial domination in their region of the galaxy. The exact date of the founding of the Tao Empire in the Imperial calendar is unclear. However, the way in which the Tao were united as a species is a well-known tale. What is known is that only 6,000 standard years ago, in the 35th millennium, the Adeptus Mechanicus Explorator fleet had discovered the Tao homeworld of Tao and determined that its population of sentient Xenos were a primitive people at the Stone Age level of development who had only just mastered fire. They have developed very rapidly as a spacefaring species. Early in their history, the Tao were a culture built upon warring tribes during this time. The Tao legends tell of the first appearance of the Ethereals in the city of Feotan. The fortress city of Feotan was under assault by the Tao warriors from the plains. Though negotiations have been attempted, the fierce plain warriors would settle for nothing less than the annihilation of the city of Feotan. For 5 long Tao years, the inhabitants would held off the savage assaults with their thick walls and plentiful cannons. However, disease and starvation began to take their toll. As the tide of the siege turned, 2 mysterious Tao appeared. One made his way into the camp of the Plains Tao, exuding a quiet authority that no Tao was able to resist. Soon, the leader of the Plains warriors was persuaded to parley with the settled Tao of Feotan. Similarly, the other mysterious Tao made his way deep into the fortress. Within a few short hours, the gates stood wide open, and the Tao of both sides stood ready to talk. The Ethereals spoke of the importance of peace and understanding between all Tao. They described a greater good that each Tao must strive towards. The besiegers and the besieged quickly agreed with the Ethereals, and a truce was reached. Across the world of Tao, Ethereals emerged, each with the same quiet authority and message of harmony and cooperation. With the Tao united, they were able to rapidly develop their civilization's technology, ultimately attaining faster-than-light spacefaring capabilities. The Tao Empire soon expanded its borders through a series of so-called sphere expansions. The Tao Empire has gone through 5 phases of expansions as of the era Indomitus. These phases are marked by Tao military campaigns, during which nearby worlds are colonized, conquered, or sometimes peacefully persuaded to accept the greater good through diplomacy, and a manifest demonstration of the benefits provided by the advanced Tao technology. Therefore, apart from the star systems directly colonized by the Tao, which are called septs, the Tao Empire also includes the worlds and star systems belonging to the species of the Kroot, Vespid, and a Nikatar. It is currently unknown if the Demiurge are full members of the Empire, allies, or mere trading partners. The Tao Empire is comprised of 24 developed septs and around 100 settled worlds, and the exact number and most of their names are unknown to the Imperium. A known splinter faction amongst the Tau are the Farsight Enclaves, founded in the Damocles Gulf by the Tau commander Farsight against the orders of the Ethereals. Also, more recently, some worlds and star systems of the Imperium of Man have been conquered by the forces of Tau, while a handful have seceded from the Imperium and pledged their allegiance to the Tao Empire. At some point, the Tau sent an expeditionary force to the imperial planet of Malbreed, where they came into conflict with the Ultramarine Space Marine chapter in 936.M41. However, the planet proved to be a cursed tomb world when the fighting of the Tau and the Ultramarines awakened the sleeping Necrons from their tombs beneath the surface. In an effort to combat this terrible threat to both races, the Tau and the Ultramarines combined their forces to defeat the Necrons. Once the conflict was over, the Tau were allowed to evacuate their forces by the Ultramarines chapter master Magnus Kalgar, who proceeded to destroy Malbreed through the use of an exterminatus order. In 966.M41, the Tau fought against the Astartes of the Space Wolves chapter during the war for Cavium Alpha. On that ocean world, the Space Wolves drop pods landed deep into the oceans where their occupants, their power armor altered by the Space Wolf tech marines to operate in undersea environments, made a move to engage their enemy. On the surface, the battle was fought between two sides, with an equally deadly conflict erupting in the depths of the ocean between the Space Wolves and the Tau battlesuits. Thunderhawk gunships armed with torpedoes, prop bombs, and missiles were used to great effect against the Tau's Hammerhead tanks and Manta gunships. Ultimately, the Space Wolves proved to be the victor in the conflict, though hundreds of Tau and Space Wolf corpses floated to the surface with their mission complete. The Space Wolves made the long trek back to land across the seabed. The Taurus Campaign was an Imperial military campaign fought by the 4,621st Imperial Guard Army and elements of the Adaptes Astartes to reclaim the Imperial desert mining world of Taurus from the Tao Empire and its Kroot and human allies of the Taurus Planetary Defense Force. In 998.M41, the campaign was ultimately unsuccessful for the Imperial forces due to the high amount of casualties taken, and the Taurus remained in the possession of the Tau, who renamed it Tyros. The Damocles Gulf Crusade, also called the Damocles Crusade, was the first military conflict fought between the Imperium of Man and the rapidly expanding Tao Empire in the Levest sector of the Ultima Segmentum in the galaxy's eastern fringes during the 41st millennium. The conflict essentially ended in a stalemate, as the Imperium was forced to conclude its military offensive early to deal with the encroaching Tyranid threat, while the Tau sought to begin diplomatic negotiations with the Imperium to show humanity the benefits to be had by accepting the greater good. Members of the Tau Water Caste had established trade agreements with the Imperial worlds on the frontier of the Tau Empire, near the Damocles Gulf region of the Ultima Segmentum, in the galactic east, and exchanges of goods and technologies was common. Alarmed by the threat of alien contamination, the Administratum readied a suitable response, and almost a century later, the Damocles Crusade smashed into Tau space, destroying several outlying settlements and pushing deep into the Tau Empire. When the Imperial fleet reached the Tau Sept world of Daleth Prime, however, the Crusade grounded to a bloody stalemate as the formidable numbers and high technology of the Tau and their crew allies thwarted every attempt to capture the world or its star system. Many months of terrible fighting ensued with nothing gained on either side. By late 742.M41, the Crusade's commanders eventually agreed to requests from the Tau Water Caste for peace talks. The negotiations were successful and the Imperial fleet withdrew from Tau space unmolested, primarily due to the impending approach of the Tyranid High Fleet Behemoth, or depending on the source, the Damocles Gulf Crusade was ended in 988.M41 due to the emergent threat of High Fleet Kraken to the Imperium. The Tau Empire was invaded by Tyranid High Fleet Gorgon, a splinter fleet of a much larger Hive Fleet Behemoth in 899.M41. The Tyranids of Hive Fleet Gorgon were exceptional for their ability to quickly adapt on a biological level to their new circumstances of battle, such as evolving immunities to the Tao's energy-based weaponry. This rapid pace of defensive adaptation may have been unique to the Tyranid breeds of Hive Fleet Gorgon, or it may have been a response to the conflict with the Tao, who are also a highly adaptable species, but on a technological level rather than a biological one. The combined forces of the Tao and Astra Militarium destroyed Hive Fleet Gorgon in 903.M41, albeit after both humanity and Tao lost several colony worlds to the rapturous Tyranids. The Tao's physiology is closely tied to their society, with the Tao of each caste effectively being a subspecies of a larger Tao race. This was initially a result of the adaptation and evolution to suit the different environments each group of the Proto-Tao species found themselves in, although interbreeding between the castes was later forbidden by the Ethereals. The Tower Humanoid in shape, although they have hoofed feet and 4-digit hands, 3 fingers and 1 thumb. Their skin is a grey-blue, although this can vary in pigmentation between Tao colony worlds. Rough in texture, leathery, and exudes almost no moisture. Their faces are flat, wide around the eyes, with an eye-shaped slit running through the center of their forehead, to where a human's nose would be. Tao vision is considered slightly superior to that of humans. Their visual spectrum extends a little more into the ultraviolet and ultra-red wavelengths. However, their pupils do not dilate, giving poorer depth perception, and providing slower vision focusing reflexes than humans. The olfactory organs of a Tao are inside the mouth. Physical strength and size varies between the Tao castes, with the Fire caste being the strongest of their kind, roughly the size and slightly weaker than the average baseline human because the Tao homeworld has gravity slightly weaker than that of Terra. Only 2 female Tao have ever been illustrated. The first, Commander Shadow Sun, appeared to have more of a human face than the male Tao, being smoother and sleeker with larger eyes, a nose-like facial feature, and a Y-shaped facial slit. It is not known, however, whether Shadow Sun is a representative of all female Tao. The second known Tao female, the subject of an imperial dissection by the Magi of the Adaptus Mechanicus, had the facial characteristics of a male Tao. The Tao do not possess psychers, and as a result have little knowledge of the immaterium beyond its existence. This gives them some sort of resistance to warp-based powers affecting the mind, but it offers little, if any, protection against physically manifested offensive psychic powers. This is because the Tao have virtually no psychic presence in the warp. To the demons, they appear as shifting will-o-wisps rather than the burning fire that represents a human soul. As such, Tao can never have psychic powers. They are largely unaware of the perils of the immaterium, and for this reason the Tao have conducted research into the warp on Medusa 5. However, the conclusion was reached that further research was unfeasible, and that the warp is no place for the greater good, and it is best left to those foolhardy races who cannot pull back from that terrible realm. Ethereal caste members also have a diamond-shaped bony ridge on their head. It is believed by Imperial scholars that through this organ, the Ethereals exert a pheromone-based, or latent psychic control over the other Tao castes, to keep them focused on the greater good, but this is a mere speculation, and no evidence of this has yet been found. Due to their notable absence of psychic abilities, the Tao have no equivalent to the navigators of the Imperium, limiting their warp jumps to short-distance shallow jumps, or warp dives. Their interstellar vessels therefore take much longer than Imperial vessels to traverse the vast distances between the stars, having to skim the surface of the warp rather than making an extended long-distance warp jump directly through the heart of the immaterium. Tau warriors receive only limited training in the arts of close combat, usually depending on group mercenaries to fight in this horrible melee so common in the 41st millennium battles. However, due to their superior range of vision in the electromagnetic spectrum and a predilection for patience, the Tau have proven themselves to be extremely efficient sharpshooters with the ranged plasma weapons they rely upon. The Tau tend to look upon other intelligent races as backwards or misguided, Before the commencement of hostilities, they always try to reason with their opponents and establish some kind of agreement that will make military force unnecessary. Noted exceptions to this policy are Tao battles with orcs and the forces of chaos, with whom the Tao have very little to no diplomatic relations. This is due to the fact that the Tao see no way to reason with them and do not want them in their empire. The Tao employ a caste-based social system that places the good of the many over the good of the few, or the individual. In Tao society, every person is viewed as an essential part of the whole society. Social standing is judged primarily by a being standing within a caste of the Tao, with La being the lowest, Shaz La equaling the fire warrior, Fia La the earth worker, Por La the water bureaucrat, and O being the highest, Shaz-O equals the fire commander, Fia-O the earth planner, and Pora-O the water ambassador. The castes are as follow. The fire caste composes the bulk of the military of the Tao Empire, and as such are the Tao most often used in the Warhammer 40k games. The average as tall or as slightly shorter than the average human, and they are generally muscular. This comes from the fire's caste origin of the plains of Tao, the Tao homeworld where they survived as hunters and warriors. Tao from the world of Viola tend to have slightly greater muscle mass because of the increased gravity of Viola. The Earth caste is composed not only of laborers and technicians, but also artisans, scientists, and engineers. They are usually credited with the significant leaps in technology that the Tao Empire has enjoyed. The members of the Earth caste form the foundations upon which the Tao Empire is built. The inhabitants of this caste are generally short and stout of build. The Water caste is primarily composed of Tao merchants and diplomats. They are tasked with seeking and maintaining diplomatic relations with other species of the Tao Empire, as well as maintaining the ease of communication and cooperation between the two other castes. The Water castes are generally taller and slimmer than other Tao, and favor diplomatic training and social grace over confrontation or combat. They are more capable in communicating in the languages of other intelligent races than most other Tao. From the time when the Tao discovered the Imperium of Man, there are several accounts where Water caste ambassadors were dispatched to imperial worlds, and those worlds were turned over to the greater good without a fight to become the new Tao Seps. The Air caste of the Tao function not only as messengers, but also as the bulk of the Tao Navy. The Tao of the Air caste are even taller and more slender than the Water caste, with long skinny appendages and hollow bones. These traits are attributed to their lives lived mostly in low to zero gravity starships and space stations. This is exacerbated by the Air caste's reluctance, if not outright refusal to land on planets, as their skeletons have atrophied to the point where injury and broken bones are commonplace. When they spend time in the gravity well in the past, before the time of the Montar, the Air caste had membranes stretching between their limbs which allowed them to glide on air currents. Tau pilots are recognized as superior to human pilots due to their better fighter craft, though they lack a normal Imperial pilot's level of combat experience. The Ethereals are the political and religious leaders of the Tau. They resemble the Fire and Water caste physically, but are marked by a diamond-shaped ridge on the raised bone in the center of their foreheads. Their origins are unknown, and most Tau will never refuse a request by an Ethereal. They are sometimes also found on the battlefield, but whether as leaders or observers remains to be seen. The leader of the Ethereal caste is a Tau named Onva, who is the master of the Undying Spirit and the leader of the An-O of the Tao Empire. One of the conspiracy theories surrounding the Tao's concerns the Ethereals' control over other Tao, and how the Ethereals initially managed to unite a fractured nomadic people constantly at war into a single people and military force. The proposed causes of this range from the psychic, as displayed in the Tao novel Fire Warrior, to the biological that the Ethereal's diamond-shaped forehead ridges produce a set of pheromones that make Tao, and to a lesser extent other intelligent species, open to suggestion. This concept was introduced after people complained that the initial Tao Codex described the Tao in too much of a positive light, and they were too good for the grim Warhammer 40k universe. This has also led to the Vespid Communion helms, which have a much clearer Orwellian feel that the Vespid are being directly manipulated by the Tau thanks to the helmets that are supposedly for communication purposes. The greater good, or Tao Va, is the central philosophy that unites all Tau. It teaches that every sentient being is equal and plays an important part in Tau society. It tells its adherents to put away petty squabbles and unnecessary things to unite for a greater good of the rest of the race. As implied in Dawn of War, Dark Crusade, the Tau have no desire to destroy another intelligent species, religion or culture, though it may not mean that the Tau respect the right to live. However, while many embrace this ideology, even some Imperial worlds have willingly joined the Tao Empire. Other races fiercely resist adhering to the greater good to pursue their own freedoms, much to the dismay of the Tau who see these desires as selfish and unenlightened. The rank of a person in Tau society is second only to the caste they are born into determining their position in Tau culture. The ranks are as follow. Sao, being cadet. This rank is typically given to Tau as soon as they enter service into the fire caste. La, the first and lowest true rank of Tau society. A Shazla would be a standard fire warrior, while a Fiala would be a manual laborer, and a Korla, a crewman on a ship. Yue, the second rank among the Tau. A Shaz Yue would be the leader of a squad of fire warriors, equivalent to an Imperial Space Marine sergeant, or a Tau battlesuit pilot, while a Poirier would be a mid-ranking envoy or diplomat. Vir, the third Tau rank. A Shazvir is a battlesuit team leader or bodyguard. A Firir would be the foreman of a Tau factory, and a Corvir, a fighter pilot. L, the fourth and second highest Tau rank, acknowledged as some of the high esteemed. Shazl and our commanders. Kor L command Tau spacecraft, and Fear L would be an engineer. O, the highest Tau rank in any caste. Kor O would be the title of a fleet admiral, while Shazo would be the highest level of command and fearsome warriors, usually placed in command of one of the more Kandres, and an Ano is the highest rank of an Ethereal as an Ethereal Supreme and head of the Ethereal High Council, revered by all Tau as the leader of their race. Before the unification of the Tao Empire under the rule of the Ethereals, the four main castes, fire, earth, water and air, were constantly vying for power with each other. The sudden appearance of the mystical Tao of the ethereal caste led to the unification of the Tao under the philosophy of the greater good. The Tao are the most open and tolerant of the intelligent species in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. They are the only faction that prefer to settle their differences peacefully. They are appreciative of the humans, Eldari, and other sentient species, but hold their own values to be superior to those of others because they view themselves as seeking to build an unselfish society. Their tolerance also extends to themselves, as the Tau recognize even the lowly Fiala workers as being important to the operation and well-being of the Tau Empire, as Shazvir battlesuit leaders, or even the Ano. Tau names are tied closely with their lives within the Empire. A Tau's full name always starts with the caste and their rank, followed by the sept, planetary system, of their birth, followed by their personal name, which is often determined extended by their notable actions or achievements in life. Thus, the Tau named Shazo Vila Chauvard Chaos Montier would be broken down as follows. Shaz, the individual, is a member of the fire caste. O, who is a high-ranking commander and hero. Viola, who comes from the sept of Viola, and has a personal name translated as being far-sighted. Shova, skilled, coyous, possible variation of case, and having seen many battles. Montier, meaning bloodied. Tau warfare is carried out almost exclusively by the fire caste. With support from the air caste in the form of transport and air support, the Tau draw their tactics from an ancient method of hunting across the plains of Tau. Each force is usually drawn from the same sept and is called a hunter cadre. The Tao prefer to carefully plan their assaults and tend to fight only after coordinating their troops and weapons for the mission at hand. The Tao prefer to fight offensively, concerned more with the quick destruction of the enemy than the taking and holding of ground. If a Tao base is attacked, the Tao will usually evacuate, dismantle all important technology, and return at a later time to retake it. The two primary Tao tactics are the Mont Ka, which means killing blow, and the Kaon, the patient hunter. The Mont Ka is a carefully planned attack designed to wipe out critical enemy defenses or units in a single well-placed strike. Once the strongest points of enemy resistance are crushed, the remainder of the force can generally be finished off easily. The Kaon is essentially an ambush, where the enemy is drawn by the use of a lure into a carefully prepared kill zone. The Mont Ka is generally known to utilize more mobile support and vehicles, whilst Kaon relies more on advanced infantry tactics and quick attacks. As Tao forces generally prefer ranged combat, they always use non-Tao alien auxiliaries like the Kroot for melee support. One tactic is when a squad of fire warriors stands in front of a task force, making use of their superior range of their weapons to soften up the enemy's formation. A squad of Kroot carnivores waits behind the fire warriors. When the enemy units charge to engage the Tao in melee, the carnivores leap in front of the fire warriors to give them time to retreat to a safe firing position. Thank you for joining me for this small introduction into the Tao and the Tao society. I hope you stay safe, friends, because the threat of chaos is always there.